How's it going, guys? And welcome to another session of the Let's Talk Show by Interlingua. I am Mike, and I am your host for tonight's show, which is going to be particularly interesting for yours truly, since today's guests are practically going to school me on this topic, which is, the aspects of being vegetarian and also being vegan. Why am I saying this? Because that's a no for me. I could never really commit to that particular nutrition. Don't get me wrong. I like veggies, I like vegetables, I like fruit, and I like all kinds of meals as long as they taste good. But restraining myself from meat, chicken, eggs, and especially cheese, what would be quite impossible for myself. I failed on that task, but our guests today haven't. They have tried to keep a balance between respecting the environment, respecting animal rights, respecting their own bodies when it comes to nutrition, and, well, it's been quite a journey for those ladies. I don't want to hold it anymore. Let's bring them out. Coming back to the Let's Talk Show, we have Saskia, and making her debut for the first time in the Let's Talk Show, we have Lu. How's it going, ladies? Welcome and hello. Yeah. Thank you for... Hi. Welcome, Lu. Good to see you again, Saskia. Thank you for taking the time for being here. And as I was mentioning in the intro, maybe this time, besides the host, I'm also gonna be a learner, because there are quite some stuff that I don't know about your experiences and your approach to vegetarian nutrition or a vegan nutrition. However, both of you have different reasons in why you adopted or you embraced that journey in the first place. So let's talk about that. But since we have a new one, let's see who starts. I forgot to call it, so all right. Saskia, please, could you share with me and for all of our viewers, and why not with Lu as well, what were the reasons that made you adopting a vegetarian? I don't want to say diet. I prefer to say nutrition, but correct me if I'm wrong. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I think there was a moment in my life where I said the same thing as you. Like, I could not stop eating meat or cheese. It's like so delicious. I love it. Why would somebody do that? And I remember when I was in college, one of my friends, well, we studied math, so nothing to do with vegetarianism in theory, but my friend did her thesis on an optimization process. So the cows that produce milk emit less gases, like contaminating gases like CO2 and less nitrogen. So we didn't know anything about it, and we just started investigating. And it was like really, really interesting, because we found out that cows emit so much contamination because of the food they eat, and also with the gases they produce, and with the actual excrement they create. It's super contaminating. Also, the amount of water they need is much more than the amount of water you would need to create food, like vegetarian food, like plants. I don't know the numbers. I think it would be cool to have the numbers here to know exactly the amount of water is needed to produce 1 kilogram of meat, and the amount of gases that produces, because it's a lot. When we started looking at it, we were so surprised. We didn't know that contaminated so much. It's we like calculated how much we were contaminating in other things, and we saw eating meat contaminates much more than using your car every day, than maybe taking 1 or 2 planes once a year. It's more contaminating to eat meat. So we were extremely surprised. And at the moment, I didn't stop eating meat because I lived with my parents and I went to school, and it was that looked out like 5-6 years ago. I started trying to reduce my consumption of meat. I wouldn't consider myself a vegetarian because sometimes like we pass taco place and I will have a taco, but just one or two, maybe just once every 3 months, because I feel really guilty when I do, because I know how much that contaminates. Yeah, so I don't know if Lu wants to continue or I can continue talking about.
Keep going. Don't worry. She'll have her time. I'll make sure of it. You're on a roll right now. You're on fire. Yeah.
So when we started investigating, there are some interesting documentaries. One that is really easy to watch, for example, is Cowspiracy. It's on Netflix. And there's also one of the sea. I think it's Seaspiracy or something like that. I'm not like in favor of everything they say there. Like you can investigate more and find out different data. But the important thing is to understand how much you contaminate with every kilo of meat you have, with every lunch you eat, how much you're hurting the planet. I think when you have conscious of that, it's not as easy to keep eating meat. Like I still do, but every time I do, I feel guilty like for weeks. I know it's delicious, but you have to be conscious of what that delicious meat is costing the planet. And it's not as easy when you're conscious of that, I think. I am not a vegan because I think it's pretty hard, even though once we visited a milk farm and it's horrible. The cows can't move literally because if they move, they produce less milk. So it's really, really bad. I try not to drink milk, but I do eat yogurt and cheese. It's kind of my main diet. So I could change that. I try to have like vegan option milks.
Okay.
But cheese is hard because I haven't found anything that can be the same. But still, at least trying to reduce your consumption, or trying not to eat meat and then, yes, eat cheese, but trying to eat less still helps so much. So I think that's a big part of it. Maybe not stopping eating meat for like every day, but trying to just reduce it or just eat once a week. It really helps.
I really wish I would have recorded this show right before I bought like 600 grams of ground beef. But anyways, let's move on to Lu. Lu, darling, what were your reasons initially when you started? If my math is not wrong, and if my notes are not wrong either, when you were vegetarian for 10 years straight. Yeah, why not? Please, how was that journey? How did it start?
Well, first of all, I think I need to clear the fact, clear it up a little, because I was never really, I had some issues calling myself a vegetarian too, because I cheated frequently, so there were a few times during those 10 years when I ate fish or I ate chicken. So, I wasn't really that strict. I know some real hardcore vegetarians who really never eat meat. I did a few times during those years, mostly because, I was still living at home, and sometimes there's like family commitments, and you go to a family dinner and we're like, how are you not going to eat the chicken that your aunt prepared, So it was, there's no getting around it. but yeah, I was mostly a vegetarian for 10 years. I started out that kind of diet when I was around 12 years old. So I was really young and it was an issue at home. I mean, they tried to respect it, but I don't think they really got it and they didn't like it. So that was fun. And it all started out because I was young and really easy to impress, I think. And I watched Super Size Me and it really, it messed me up. It messed me up. And I just couldn't deal with it. I'm a huge animal lover. Like, I've always had dogs as pets. I had cats a few times when I was a very young child too. And the whole thing about animal cruelty just, yeah, I think it opened up a whole world to me that I wasn't aware of. I think that's something that happens a lot and that really keeps the meat industry going. The fact that you don't really see it, you know, it's all really well hidden. You don't get to see the process that the food that you're eating goes through. And that applies to meat as well as vegetables and everything, really. Everything we eat is processed in very unethical and unsustainable ways. And if you don't see it, if you're not aware of it, it really doesn't matter. But once you are, it gets to you somehow. I think it's really, I think my experience with vegetarianism was really like an emotional roller coaster when I first got into, because I was a teenager, so I got really into it and I started researching and I wanted to know the numbers and I wanted to know what was going on. And I think that really affected me. Like it wasn't really healthy for my mental state. I don't think I mean, it's okay to research and to want to inform yourself, but I think I was too exposed to it, where it ended up being kind of like an obsession rather than a healthy interest and an ethical issue that I was interested in, and that I could approach with sanity. It was more of an obsession. So I still am, I try to be aware of it and I do try to inform myself. And yes, to try to, like Saskia said, try to reduce the impact that my eating habits have on the planet, and to try to do it as sustainable and as ethical as possible, which is really hard. As you both know, I'm not, which is not news. But I'm not as, as obsessed with it. And I don't, as I said, I was a teenager when I started being a vegetarian, and I think I did go through a phase where I was really judgy about it, and that's not nice. That's very, it's counterproducing, you know, when you take this very like moral high ground stand, that doesn't contribute to pulling more people to your side and trying to eat veggies, or to just be aware of what their eating habits signify on a larger scale. It rather has the opposite effect. You know, I think a few years ago it was actually a common meme for people to be so over vegetarians and over vegans, because they can be very hostile people. And
Morrissey. Who said that?
I reassessed that, and I try to be more flexible around it now, both for me and for others.
Actually, that's my next point. Saskia, when you discovered all of this information thanks to, being around your friend doing her thesis, you would say that, like we say in Spanish, that you were the one-eyed person in the land of the blind. I don't know if I translated correct. I don't know, but you get the point. However, did this in some way influence your social interaction with other people around you, especially when it comes to their nutrition habits, or if they were meat lovers were you trying to give them information, or did they how can I say this? Did they get some sort of a instant pushback by the fact that you adopted those habits?
Yes. I think we didn't start, my friend and I didn't start trying to reduce our consumption of meat immediately. It took like some time. But we were constantly trying to tell people like, oh my God, we figured this out. And how can everybody like be eating meat and forget like how much damage they're doing to the planet and just ignore the fact? And we tried to talk to people. And then when I finally started, stopped eating meat, my parents were like, oh no, you just, when you complete it, like, just the one they eat. And then it was like hard mostly for my mother and my grandmother, for them to understand that I didn't want to eat meat. And some people were like really tough, like, oh, but I love meat. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't matter. Like, I love to eat too, but if it hurts the planet so much, like, how can you just ignore that because you love it? And I was trying to tell people, and then at some point, yeah, everybody was like pulling back, like, we don't care. So it's just got to one point where if they ask, I tell them. If you want to know, I'll like share my information. I'll share a place to look for information with. But if you don't want to know, I'll just let you live your life. And something interesting, and that I hadn't noticed until you asked, is that maybe I did like take that into account. Like, maybe not all my friends are vegetarian or vegan. Actually, most of them are not. But both of my boyfriends, after I found out, are vegetarian. So maybe there is a link there in me, like, getting closer to people that think similar as me, even if I'm not just going to push people away because they eat meat.
Actually, you see, something caught my attention because it reminds me of something that I looked a while ago in a series. Like, imagine that you and your vegetarian, well, not imagine, I'm sure it has happened plenty of times, get together in some sort of reunion party. What exactly do you like consume for, to spend the time, or what do you avoid? What's it like? How is that experience?
Like in parties, if we eat meat or something like that?
Oh no, in reunions, like if only you guys get together, like, I don't know, you guys go to the kitchen and prepare a salad, or like make some sort of like snacks that are in TikTok of some kind. I don't know.
Like my girl, I have not cooked meat like in 5 or 6 years, I think. Yeah, like meat or chicken or fish or anything. Maybe when I go, I have a bit, but generally not. And I never eat salad. I eat salad like every once in a while, but almost none. My boyfriend hates salad. So there are so many veggie options that people don't consider. For example, just like snacks, guacamole is an incredible option, and it's meatless. And for example, for food, like typical Mexican food, you can always have it without meat. Like enchiladas, you can put in them, or you can put cheese in it. Chilaquiles are completely veggie if you don't have like meat on top, and they're still really good. Quesadillas, you always have like with ragoche or flor de calabaza. There's so many options, like pozole. They do it with flor de calabaza and with different champignons. So it's really, really good. Like all the options you can have, like flautas or tacos dorados, you can have them of potato. And if you're really craving like something different, like en frijoladas, you can put a vegan chorizo in it. Vegan chorizo is like the best. It tastes exactly the same as normal chorizo. Like, I don't really like soy like products that intend to be meat. I think if I don't eat meat, I don't need that flavor. But soy chorizo is the only thing that you can really have that tastes good. All
right. Like you said, I didn't realize until you mentioned that. Yeah, you're right. Like there's a bunch of antojitos that I love that are actually meatless or can be meatless.
Like chiles rellenos, they're super good and they don't have meat. Actually, we were very angry because many times when we go like to a restaurant and they have a veggie option, like in little houses, they have like tortitas de papa or chiles rellenos or any other thing, and they always finish first. Like if you don't get there early, even not lovers are going to have that first.
Especially if I'm there. I know what you're saying. I was just like in that meme where there's this guy that goes like this. It was like an awakening or like an eye opener all of the sudden. And speaking of eye opening experience, well, not quite, but as when it comes to adapting yourself to different circumstances, Lu, as I understand, when you came to Mexico City, the temptations within its ground made you, well, be a little more flexible. You were already, but be more about your nutrition, about your vegetarianism. Did that put you into some conflict, or what went through your mind when you said, maybe I can like lean back a little bit, maybe, just maybe I can, I was going to say another expression, but it could be very misinterpreted. Maybe I can be on both sides of the coin. That came out fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I became more flexible. I would say
Interesting.
I would say I was completely defeated. I was
Okay.
Mexico City's taco stands. Yeah, it just got to a point where it wasn't practical, and I was spending a lot of time and money trying to eat vegetarian. Because I think it was less common for there to be vegetarian options when I was in my school, at least. Now that's different. I've gone a few times, and that's all there is, like cheap vegetarian options. But when I was starting there, it wasn't that way. You have misiotes on the corner, and that was the place to go, And I gave in to social pressure too. I think I was always hanging out with my friends. I spent so much time in the university, not just because I was a huge nerd, but because it was it made sense. I lived kind of far away from home. I wasn't that far away, but it took me a while to get there. So I wasn't going to be coming back and forth to eat vegetarian at home and not spend so much money on eating at school. It just, I don't think I really thought about it too much. I did feel kind of bad, not so much because I had like an ethical conflict. I mean, there was some of that, but I think it was more personal. I think I felt like I had gotten this huge achievement. Like I had spent 10 years trying to do this, and then suddenly I just thought I couldn't anymore. Like I had to prioritize other things, like going to class and not being famished all the way through my classes. And it just makes sense to eat some misiotes in between classes.
Keep saying it and I get more and more hungry. But it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Let's just be clear on that one. You mentioned earlier on, Lu, that yes, actually, in many aspects, well, probably in all of them, people can sometimes be excessive. And as you mentioned, there are some excessive vegans or vegetarians that can be quite an act to deal with. Have you guys come across any of those people, and what's it like, Saskia?
Yeah, obviously. Actually, when I started like not eating that much meat, I did call myself a vegetarian, and people were super judgy, like, "Oh, the other day I saw you eat a taco." I was like, "Yeah, one taco in like 2 weeks. Come on." And it was like, "No, you're not vegetarian, so it's fine. I don't have to call myself that. I don't have a problem with it." But I think that's a little bit excessive. But yeah, maybe I understand it. There are people that will never, never, ever eat meat, so that's cool. And I think vegetarians are a bit judgy, but vegans are super judgy. And brings about the friend that I was telling you about, that then that it was her thesis, the one of the cows. So she's vegan now, completely vegan. But the other day we went out, she came and visited me, and we had pasta, and they put cheese on her pasta. So she was like, I cannot eat this. But she's not extremely excessive, because it was like, okay, the pasta is here and it has the cheese. Like the cow already suffered, the contamination is already done. If I give it back to ask for no cheese, they're going to throw it away. So going to waste is much more contaminating than just eating it. So it's fine, I'll eat it, even if she doesn't like it. So I think she's like very, very accessible. But we have another friend who is like super extreme, and every time you see him, he's like, "Oh, you shouldn't eat that," and he's just shaming you over everything, which I understand. Like, you should be ashamed. I should be ashamed of so many things. I eat like so much cheese or cream. But you don't want to feel that every second. Like, I already feel guilty. I don't need more guilt. So yeah, I think it's very easy to come across these people like on all the spectrum. But there's some people that are really supportive. Like, I live in a house with other people, and we're all students. So once in a while we do like carnita asada, like grilled meat. Like, yeah, just having grilled meat, yeah. And they always ask us like, "What do you want?" And we have like portobello mushrooms, or we have nopales, or we have many things that are super good. They're so good. People steal our food instead of eating their meat. So I'm just saying, you can try it. It's really cool.
When meat lovers strike. But I'm glad the gatherings are cool. Yeah. What about Lu? What about you, Lu? Have you come across some unpleasant vegan?
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
I think, yeah, it can be a really hostile thing, and I'm really against hostility. I like people to be clean to each other. So
I know what you're saying.
and yeah, I've come across some people that don't have an issue with calling you a murderer. You know, they see you eating tacos and they're like, "What I'm doing is murder." And they're like, yeah. So that's extreme. I am going to play a little devil's advocate and say that I've also come across people who eat meat and are very aggressive about it. Like when I started getting into vegetarianism, this would happen to me a lot, that I would be, I don't know, it's some sort of social gathering and people would go like, "Oh, why aren't you eating meat?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I don't."
You think you're better than us because you're a vegetarian.
And then, "Do you know that nothing you do is going to make any difference?" Like, chill, dude. I didn't even tell you about it. You asked me. And so, yeah, I'm with Seth about that. That's why I don't really like talking about it unless I'm asked about it.
Okay.
I also think, I mean, it's great that we're doing this, but I do think that we all have to take a chill pill and realize that eating habits are just that, habits, and everyone has their own, and they can be different for a lot of different reasons. Like, there's money issues, there's religious issues, there's ethical issues, there's medical issues, So yeah, some people eat something and some people don't. It doesn't have to be this. We all make such a big deal out of it, and it is a big deal. I get it, but it's also a very personal deal. So I think we have to all be more careful around how we address it, because we act like it's not something that can be very sensitive to people, and it is. It's really intimate. It's what you're putting into your body,
Pretty much.
And yeah, I don't like I don't like us.
Me neither. And I hope our viewers don't like it as well. However, ladies, I'm sure there's plenty of more we could talk about on the matter, but unfortunately our time is up. But as I said in the beginning, thank you so much for being here. You're always welcome. And well, I'm sure your information has been of service to all of our viewers who are also our talkers for both their English practice, and perhaps, you never know, one of them is going through the same stuff as you are, and you came out as totally relatable. That also helps out. For all of our viewers, now I'm speaking directly to you. This is everything for today, but be sure to tune in every single week for more of the Let's Talk show with different topics and different points to discuss. Saskia was with us. Lu was with us in her debut. Eric Rios was in the controls. Poncho was in charge of the editing. I am Mike. Goodbye and good night. Bye.